Envision a standard foot soldier of the Civil War during the mid-1863 season. A layer of grime clings to his woolen jacket as if it were a part of him. His footwear is dangerously thin after countless days of tramping, frequently covering 20 or more miles before sunset. His load already approaches 60 pounds. A pouch packed with ammunition weighing him down, a blade attached to his belt, a satchel holding dry biscuits, and a worn-out cover. A water container thumping against his chest constantly. The oppressive weather of Virginia or Pennsylvania bears down, or moisture transforms pathways into sticky clay, hindering each advancement. Every step brings exhaustion. Next, envision giving that identical exhausted warrior an additional 15 to 25 pounds of dense timber or metal, a barrier meant to defend against a projectile traveling near 1,000 feet per second. That extra burden wouldn't merely impede his progress, it might shatter the delicate coordination of an entire military force during advancement, causing units to trail behind the horse-pulled transport and mounted patrols who established the relentless speed. What reasoning would anticipate soldiers already nearing collapse to bear extra mass? Prior to continuing, remember to click the like option and follow our page. That action assists our group to expand. The lack of shields wasn't due to sentimental oversight or a persistent attachment to valiant traditions. It resulted from the unavoidable clash between advanced weaponry and the harsh demands of 19th century travel, physical constraints of beasts, and shortages during conflict. Consider the equines first, because during that conflict they established the fundamental beat determining each army's speed. A typical infantry group could need over 1,000 animals just to operate effectively. Teams of 6 equines pulling every cannon and its carriage, medical transports jostling along uneven paths, supply vehicles burdened with dried grass and grain, officers' horses, messengers speeding between command posts. The Army of the Potomac alone used up countless thousands of equines annually. The Southern forces, perpetually deficient in fresh animals, often relied on taking civilian horses that were inadequately trained or unhealthy. Providing sustenance for them was extremely difficult. Every animal required over 10 pounds of grass and grain every single day, plus fluid. During warm weather operations such as Gettysburg or the Wilderness, supply lines extended endlessly, susceptible to enemy attacks. One injured or deceased equine could delay an artillery unit for significant time or leave mounted troops stranded within hazardous areas. Now consider that increased burden. If each foot soldier carried a shield's mass, travel times would extend, food requirements increase, and animal depletion quicken. Military leaders understood this concept clearly. Decelerate the marching soldiers, and you disrupt the whole operation. Mounted units experienced this limitation most severely. Consider the dashing maneuvers of J.E.B. Stuart or the destructive campaigns later led by Philip Sheridan in Virginia's Valley. Mounted troops depended on swift maneuverability, one grip on the reins, the other available for rifle, pistol, or blade. A protective plate, even a lightweight version, would throw off the rider's equilibrium, catch on undergrowth during woodland combat, make noise and frighten horses already nervous from artillery blasts, plus extended periods atop the animal. More critically, it contributed mass that quickened deterioration, strap injuries, shoulder damage, hoof splitting from excessive strain on stone pathways. By the conflict's midpoint, Northern mounted strategy had shifted decisively towards velocity, intelligence gathering, and swift assaults, followed by rapid withdrawal. Individual safety was an indulgence they couldn't justify when remaining in combat required staying on horseback. Foot soldiers bore their own overwhelming burden. The Springfield or Enfield rifle represented remarkable technology, propelling a tapered projectile to distances and precision previously impossible with older weapons. However, this capability carried consequences. Modern ballistics tests demonstrate that even dense wooden barriers crack when struck directly by a standard bullet from 200 feet. To achieve genuine safety, soldiers would require metallic armor substantial enough to absorb impact without breaking, potentially 30 or more additional pounds per person. Yet troops frequently voiced frustration regarding their equipment. Footsores became infected, Backs developed permanent strain, and abandonment rates increased when individuals couldn't endure additional distance. One former soldier described the persistent suffering from straps pressing against irritated flesh. Another mentioned abandoning equipment during withdrawals just to maintain progress. Introducing shields would intensify every grievance into emergency. Open gunpowder container with incisors. Empty grains into barrel. Insert projectile and fabric. Extract metal rod. Return it to holder. Place detonator. All whilst gunsmoke filled the atmosphere and projectiles flew nearby. A barrier attached to the non-dominant arm would disrupt the rod's motion, block targeting view, or require uncomfortable adjustments, creating disorder throughout the unit. Within crowded arrangements, exactness was essential. Any disturbance created openings for opposing mounted troops or cannons to discharge anti-personnel rounds. Metal fragments transforming formations into slaughter zones. Supply considerations provided the conclusive argument. The Southern forces functioned with minimal resources, repurposing metal from railway tracks and leather from personal equipment. Even footwear was distributed infrequently. The Northern manufacturing advantage directed resources toward established weaponry, government factories producing rifles, metalworks crafting artillery ammunition, not experimental defensive items. A basic timber barrier might cost several dollars in materials and production. Outfitting an Army division, thousands of individuals, required substantial funds and manufacturing capacity redirected from other purposes. No supply officer would gamble on such items when ammunition and food were already scarce. Trial efforts did occur, though infrequently. During 1862 through 1863, Confederate engineer Charles Dimmock experimented with portable wooden barriers mounted on wheels, effective during tests in Richmond, but ultimately sinking into Virginia mud or tipping over when nearby cannons fired. Throughout the siege at Vicksburg, Northern forces stacked bales of cotton and wooden beams as protection. During the Petersburg Campaign, opposing armies constructed extensive trench systems featuring protective walls and underground shelters. These fixed defenses absorbed enemy fire more effectively than any transportable option and, importantly, didn't add weight to marching troops. Commercial offerings appeared as well. Protective garments marketed by unscrupulous vendors, metal panels inserted into fabric, occasionally coated with rubber. Certain officers and ordinary soldiers tested them during clashes like the Wilderness or Spotsylvania, though most discarded them after enduring humid conditions. Metal panels became unbearably hot, hindered breathing, irritated skin beneath wool clothing. One survivor remarked they created more difficulty than benefit. By late 1864, the conflict had moved beyond such considerations entirely. Field defenses, winding trenches, barriers constructed from timber, dirt-filled containers became typical practice. These absorbed rifle fire and cannon blasts without hindering soldier mobility. Ultimately, the Civil War's lack of shields represents an army caught between eras. Modern rifles rendered traditional protection completely insufficient without extreme weight. Equines, supply caravans, and physical limitations created boundaries that no invention could readily overcome. Commanders prioritized speed, concentrated firepower, and determined perseverance, decisions that fundamentally determined victory and the human cost required. Yet consider this provocative possibility. What if those commanders recognized shields might preserve lives, yet deliberately accepted vulnerability to forge unbreakable determination among their troops? During a conflict determining slavery's future, was dispatching soldiers unprotected against devastating fire a deliberate harshness, transforming defenselessness into a mechanism that eliminated doubt and created heroic narratives? Or merely period arrogance? Consider contemporary leaders confronting similar calculations. Would they provide protection or permit heroic ideals to extract equivalent human cost? Historical reverberations persist insistently.